If you have been struggling with the autofocus of the X-T4 while filming yourself, perhaps you are a vlogger, perhaps you like to showcase products on your YouTube channel, in this video, I am going to share with you a secret life hack that is going to unleash the full potential of the X-T4's autofocus in video mode. Let's go! What's up folks, my name is Balbo, I'm a French photographer based in Japan. If you want to see some of my work with geishas, head over to my Instagram account. Otherwise, if you are new here and you want to see more tips, tricks or reviews about the Fuji X series, subscribe to this channel right now and let's get started. I've seen so many videos recently of people testing the X-T4's autofocus in video mode, and the bottom line is they are never fully happy with the results they get. We can actually narrow it down to people trying to film themselves, because if you take two static subjects and you try to autofocus from one to the other, the X-T4 is able to do it very smoothly without any issue. The eye autofocus on the X-T4 is actually very good at finding your face and then your eye. Where it struggles is when there are sudden changes. So for example, if you are moving from a shadowy area to a bright area, the camera doesn't seem to be able to recognize that whatever it was tracking in the shadowy area is the same thing now in the bright area with just a different exposure. You have a similar issue when the camera is tracking your eye, but then you turn your head. And so normally you would expect the camera to understand that if you turn your head, it's not going to be able to see your eye anymore, but your head is still there, okay? There's no reason to look for you anywhere else in the frame. But the eye autofocus of the X-T4 feels very insecure. Every time that something changes, it just panics. It automatically thinks that it has lost you. So it's hunting somewhere else to find you, and most of the time it's going to hunt for you in the background, just in case you teleport it yourself, who knows? And then it's gonna find you again. And if you watch a video in which, from time to time, not always, but from time to time, the autofocus is going to hunt in the background, then come back to a subject that more or less hasn't really moved in the frame, it's really not a good look. The fact of the matter is, if you want to fix this, you really need to invest a lot in research and development with a lot of machine learning, in which you're going to teach your camera how to react in various situations. For example, you need to teach the camera how to recognize that the head is turning and that therefore it is normal that the eye is getting outside of your field of view. And when it's the case, then stop focusing on the eye, start focusing on the head, and then you need to be able to recognize that the head is turning. That means that the eye is gonna come back into the frame, so you need to start tracking for that eye again. But however big you imagine that Fuji's software division is, it's not that big. So it's going to take time for Fujifilm to get there, so don't expect a firmware update really soon that is suddenly going to bring all this machine learning into your X-T4. It's probably something you should rather expect in the XH2 or the X-T5 when the camera comes out with a new processor. Don't forget that the X-T4 is using the same processor as the X-T3 was using. So does that mean that you should just give up, sell all your gear? Of course not. It's still possible to get much better autofocus with what you already have. So you can sit behind your computer all you want and comment all day long on forums about spec sheets, or I wish the X-T4 would do this, I wish the X-T4 would do that. But at the end of the day, those who are going to get closer to their goals are those who are going to produce actual content with the gear they have, those who are going to hone their craft. If you wait for the perfect camera, you're just never going to start filming. So here is a life hack that is going to change the game for you when you film yourself with the X-T4. First, we are going to turn off the eye autofocus. Second, we are going to turn on the autofocus range limiter. And let me stop you right there, because I know that your gut feeling is that this is not something that you want to do. You just want the eye autofocus detect to work as you dream it would work. And psychologically, we don't like to turn on a setting that is called a limiter. We want to unleash the full potential of what we have. But the truth is, if you use this autofocus range limiter, you are going to be very surprised by the results you are going to get and by how much more confident the autofocus of the X-T4 is going to be even in video mode. And don't panic if you think that this is something that is going to be cumbersome to use or something that is going to slow you down. Watch until the end of this video, because I'm going to share with you a tip that is going to make this whole process very easy and fast to use in real-life situations. If you think about it, using this autofocus range limiter actually makes a lot of sense. What are people really trying to do when they film themselves? Sometimes they're trying to film a talking head, just like this one, and you can see that the distance of my face from the camera is really not moving much. My body is going to move back and forth a little bit while I am talking, it's very natural, but you can see that this movement is really contained within a limited length. So telling the camera that I will never be over there in the background at infinity is really helping the autofocus a lot to keep track of my face as long as I stay within the autofocus target box. The second scenario is when people are trying to vlog. Now, most people vlog holding their camera at arm's length. And so, obviously, your arm is going to be more or less extended while you are walking, but unless you are Elastic Man, your arm is never going to go over there in the background. And really, the movement of the camera and the change in distance between your camera and your face is really contained, again, within something like 20 to 30 centimeters. So you can really help the camera by telling it to never try to focus beyond the length of your arm. The third most common scenario is when people are trying to showcase products on their YouTube channel. And the same principles apply to this case. You are going to hold the product at arm's length, so you can really help your camera by telling it that the shortest focus distance that it needs to monitor is somewhere around here, where you have your arm length. And that it doesn't need to bother about whatever is beyond your own location. When you turn this focus on, you really get two benefits. The first one is the camera is never going to hunt for you somewhere in the background. And that is very annoying, when you are viewing a video that is going somewhere in the background and then coming back, If we have blurry backgrounds in our video, it's for a reason. There is nothing interesting to see over there. The second benefit is that the autofocus performance is actually going to be stronger and more confident. As long as the subject that needs to be in focus stays within the autofocus target of the X-T4, the camera is never going to lose track of it. Okay, enough talk, let me grab my X-T4 and show you how to set it up. So first, make sure that your dial is set to movie mode. Then make sure that you turn off Eye Detect Autofocus, because if you do not turn off Eye Detect Autofocus, the autofocus range limiter menu is going to be grayed out, so you are not going to be able to turn it on. Once this is done, just click on Menu, and we are going to go in the AFMF submenu, and from there, we are going to go in the second page, and it's the second item of the second page. So select Autofocus Range Limiter, and you can see that there are three presets here. Preset 1 and Preset 2 are already set, and then there is a custom preset. Now, Preset 1 and Preset 2 are very useful for people shooting sports or wildlife, because you know that your subject is never going to be very close to your camera. So if you tell the camera that it doesn't need to worry about focusing very close to the lens, you're actually going to improve your performance for such scenarios. But we are actually trying to do the opposite here. We are going to tell the camera to completely ignore whatever is happening in the background over there and to actually focus on what's happening right in front of the lens. So go into Custom and press Set. We are going to define here point A and point B. Point A is going to be the minimum focus distance that you want the camera to focus on. Point B is going to be the opposite, the furthest focus distance that you want the camera to worry about. So use the manual focus ring of your lens to set point A to the minimum focus distance of this specific lens. Once you are happy with the position of your point A, press the OK button. From here, you can use the manual focus ring of your lens to move your point B. And generally speaking, if you're just vlogging or doing a YouTube video, it's going to be somewhere between 1.5 to 2 meters. Once you are happy with the position of point B, here is a tip: do not press OK. If you press OK, you are going to go back to setting point A. So instead of pressing OK, press on the display back button that is going to take you back within the menu of your X-T4. And you can see now that your custom item is displaying whatever distances you have set for your point A and point B. Okay, I have now switched to the X-T4. Up until this point, I was filming on the X-T3 in manual focus. I am now using the X-T4 in continuous autofocus, and I have set my autofocus range limiter to what I would normally do for a talking head. So you can see that the autofocus is actually working very well. When I'm talking to the camera, I'm only going to do small body movement, but you can see that even with exaggerated body movement, you get very good result. You would never do such like stupid movement when you are talking. The bottom line is you can enable autofocus in continuous mode when filming your talking head, and the camera is going to track you without any issue. And most importantly, it is never ever going to hunt for me somewhere in the background, which is very, very distracting when it happens. As you can see, it's working very well. I can have a lot of confidence in my footage. The last thing you want when you're filming a talking head is to do it from start to finish, and then when you get the footage on your computer, you realize that, oh, there was some problem with the autofocus and you need to reshoot that part. So if at that point you have already moved all your lights away and moved things around in your studio, it is absolutely a nightmare. But with this autofocus range limiter, it's never going to happen again. The autofocus range limiter setting also works very well for vlogging. However, there is one major drawback. Because we turned off the eye detect autofocus, you need to really make sure that you keep the subject of your vlog inside the focusing target box. And at the start of your vlog, when you start filming, it's not gonna be a problem. But after a few minutes, when you start feeling the weight of the camera and your arm is starting to get tired and you're gonna start, moving from one arm to the other, and then again, it's gonna become more and more difficult to make sure that you always keep your subject inside of the autofocus box. So keep that in mind. Anyway, that's it for vlogging. Let's get back to the studio. Where this technique is going to shine is when you want to showcase a product for your YouTube channel. So for example, I have a lens here. It's the Viltrox 23mm f1.4. And you can see that I can get very smooth and very accurate focus transition between when I'm talking and when I want the focus to be on the lens. Okay, I am in focus. The lens is in focus. I am in focus, and so forth. Right now, I'm filming on the 16-55 f2.8 lens, which is a lens that works very well in video mode. But the autofocus range limiter setting is actually so powerful that you can do this product showcase trick with lenses that usually people don't advise using for video work with your Fujifilm X-T4. So here I am, for example, with the XF 35mm f1.4, which is notorious for its slow autofocus, but look at that. Okay, focus on me, focus on the product. Focus on me, focus on the product. I know that when I told you that the trick was to use the autofocus range limiter, a lot of you were not actually convinced. But I hope that you are now convinced, now that you can see the results that I can achieve, even with lenses that are not made for video usage. And by the way, as I said, this is the Viltrox 23mm f1.4. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions or things you want to see in a review about that lens. Before I wrap up this video, I promised you a tip that would make this whole process very easy and fast to use. You can actually assign the autofocus range limiter to one of your custom buttons. If you press the disp back button for a few seconds, you're going to get into the menu that enables you to assign your custom button. Personally, the button I use for the autofocus range limiter is the one on the top plate, and I'm using the button in front of the camera to enable and disable autofocus. So this is how I would do it in a real life situation. I would use the front custom button to turn off IAF, and then I would use the top left custom button to turn on the autofocus range limiter. And just like that, I can very quickly go from filming a talking head or filming a vlog to shooting a scene and filming some B-roll, for example. Anyway, that's all I had for you today. I hope this video was useful to you. And if it was, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more tips, tricks, or reviews regarding the Fujifilm X series. In the meantime, it's been my absolute pleasure to serve you, and I will see you soon.